Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We are back here on YouTube, and this week we're talking about approaching upwind and upcurrent paddling strategies that yield the highest success rate. We'll quickly go over how to approach these ideas, understanding the big picture when it comes to racing in this type of environment, as well as some easy skills that you can implement to make those situations easier. This video is brought to you by us at the K2NOnlinePaddleSchool.com. We have 200 plus technique videos as well as off the water training exercise videos. We also create individualized training plans for on the water specific training. Sign up for that on the website. Send us a bio about how much you paddle, what your paddling goals are. There we start creating our detailed workout routine specifically for you. Thank you all so much for watching the video, and we'll get right to it. So there's not a simple answer for paddling upcurrent or upwind to maximize and make it easier. I wish it was as simple as you should paddle harder or you should paddle faster. What you're looking to do is to get out of those conditions as quickly as you can. This means that we should work to move the boat faster into these inclement type scenarios. Nature is working hard to slow your vessel down, and it is up to you to get out of that so you're not falling victim to it for a prolonged amount of time. Paddlers that suffer most in upcurrent and upwind scenarios are usually the ones that are stuck in it the longest. There are two ways to move your vessel faster. You can either paddle faster or you can find more pressure, or a combination of the two. End result of these two concepts is the same. We're trying to produce more energy to move the boat faster. From the perspective of course racing, you will spend a duration going into these rough conditions. You will turn at a certain mark and you will spend an equal distance going with the conditions working with you. Understanding your paddling style will give you the ability to change gears in a very efficient way to match the conditions. If you are a big, strong paddler, maybe turning over makes you feel like you're cutting your stroke too short, and spending more time and more pressure in the water gets you out of those conditions faster. Being a shorter limbed paddler, maybe you can't find the same leverages as somebody that's larger, and turning over gives you that ability to up your wattage output. The primary thing is identifying these conditions before you get into them and knowing that you want to allocate more energy into those slower race conditions. A simple way to look at it is there's no right answer, but you are definitely going to want to work harder. Stepping back and looking at the big picture. As we are going into a race course where we are going upwind and turning around and having a tailwind, we'll always spend more time going into the slower conditions. Let's say the course is 8 miles, 4 miles in one direction and 4 miles back. Your times will always be slower as the conditions are slowing you down. When you turn, you are going to be going fastest with the tailwind or the current pushing you, and now you are going to spend less time going fast. Trying to balance these averages is the sign of being successful with managing your energy. Knowing that the conditions slowing you down, you're going to spend more time there. If you can allocate more energy there to go faster, you can get out of slow conditions sooner. Choosing how you allocate your energy and what your paddle stroke becomes to combat that is really a lot of trial and error. Spending time going upcurrent or upwind and trying different ways to approach the paddle stroke will help you understand how to effectively approach it. Sometimes paddling at a higher turnover rate is going to end up making you slower and sapping your energy. This is a great indicator that that's not really working for you. You can adjust how you're taking your strokes to paddle faster, or you can switch gears and try to take more power per stroke as opposed to turning over faster. The concept that we want to try and identify is yourself as a paddler and how you are affected by the wind. The larger the paddler, the less influence the wind has on both slowing you and accelerating you. The lighter weight the paddler, the more the wind affects them. Good thing and a bad thing. Going upwind, you are constantly barraged and slowed down, but once you have tailwind, your boat will accelerate even faster. A great way to visualize this is taking a blow dryer and having a bowling ball and a feather. When you take the hair dryer to the bowling ball and put it on full blast, that bowling ball is not moving. No matter what direction you turn around and blow air at the ball, it's not going to move in any direction. Now when you take it and hit the feather, it is going to fly through the air very quickly. If we need the feather to come towards the air dryer and we have it at full blast, you can see how difficult it is to get that object to go in this direction because of its inherent weight. If the goal is to go in the same direction as the wind, when you hit it, it is going to fly much faster than the bowling ball. Understanding this concept gives you is knowing that as you're approaching your race, looking at the conditions, you can start to calculate, am I very victim to going upwind because of my inherent size? Or do I have a very consistent pace, both upwind and tailwind? This allows you to manage your energy differently to be most successful. I'm a smaller paddler, so I have to work extra hard going upwind. But if I'm in good position near larger paddlers, once tailwind is starting to help me, I have the largest advantage typically to the racers around me. So if I can hold even to that halfway point, I have an advantage on the final stretch. Even if I've used a lot more energy, I can now paddle easier and the conditions are going to help me proportionally more. If you are a larger paddler, there may not be a reason to push extra hard into small upwind, because when you turn around, you're not going to be able to take the foot off the gas and kind of have the wind help you as much. You have to be much more consistent with planning your race energy management. Spending time in these different conditions gives you the knowledge to approach racing at the highest possible effectiveness. Those are the large concepts in approaching racing where the conditions are slowing you down. Next, we're going to talk about paddling upwind and using your paddle properly to feather through the wind. Starting with the canoe, as we are going through the recovery phase, with an upwind, as this blade face is oriented this way, the wind is easy to catch on the surface area as we're pulling the blade forward. Feathering the paddle is turning the blade sideways and cutting through the air as we travel through the recovery. If you're driving down the highway at 50 miles an hour and you were to stick your paddle out the window like so, it would almost rip out of your hands. If you orient the paddle like so, the wind does not catch on a large surface, only on the edge. So you're cutting through the wind, and so you can move your paddle around up and down, and there's almost no resistance on it, even if the car accelerates. As we go through the recovery and punch the blade forward, it's moving at 10 or 15 miles per hour. If you're going into an upwind of 10 to 15 miles per hour, we are talking about a lot of wind power. Feathering the blade allows you to go from having pressure as you're reorienting your stroke to being very effortless to the front. On the flip side, when you have a tailwind, it is nice to keep the paddle not feathered and have the wind pull your paddle to the front for you. It's definitely situational, and you'll see myself feather and not feather based on those conditions. The easiest way to feather, in my opinion, is to relax the bottom hand and push the thumb forward like so to orient the paddle. The flexibility demand of turning this hand forward like so is very minimal. Common mistake is death gripping with the bottom hand and turning the hand like so. This puts a tremendous amount of force on your elbow each time that you're going through. You can achieve the same thing by loosening the grip and turning the hand like so, and the paddle will turn in your hand. The timing on this is the tricky part. So as you get back to the front, you want to orient your top hand for the stroke. The paddle will go back into place, and then your bottom hand will tighten up again. Also an excellent way to make sure that you are loosening your grip on your recovery, because you literally have to unlock this hand to turn the paddle. So if you're double death gripping your paddle, it's very difficult to feather it without turning a bunch of joints to try and go to the front. By being relaxed, it's very easy to turn that paddle within the hand. We're going through the recovery, loosen the bottom hand, top thumb punches forward, coming to the front, orienting for the next stroke. We have a full video on surf ski paddle feathering that you can check out, but I'll briefly go over it here. Ferrule in the center will change the orientation of your non-dominant hand. And is the one that holds onto the paddle, and the non-dominant hand is the one that opens and swivels the blade around. The more offset this is, the more it will cut through the air with the smaller edge as we're going through each of those strokes, like so. We talk about in that video, the wing blade is inherently very aerodynamic. It has a high point in the middle and then it curves to the side. So as air hits this, it is going to flush off the edges much more than a flat blade like the canoe or a normal kayak blade. So knowing that there's not a huge incentive to bring this all the way to 90 degrees because it is so technical to orient the paddle every stroke to get a very marginal wind resistance gain. To the point that I have run this paddle at 0 degrees for years, and I have never felt that I am pushing through the air with an exceeding amount of force. Turning the paddle to 25 degrees or 30 degrees gives you a balance of not having to mess with your hand orientation, as well as having some semblance of air resistance from your top blade. With a kayak paddle being like 2 canoe blades, you can see that orienting to 90 degrees with this is much more worth it for each stroke because of the amount of force that you're going to find. A lot of surface area, as well it is way out here away from you. So the leverage makes this feel like a ton of pressure. A lot of 90-degree feathering stems from when this was an elite level paddle to turn it sideways as it goes to the front. Excellent. So in summary, either paddling faster, paddling with more pressure, or a combination of both is the most effective way to deal with upwind as well as upcurrent scenarios. Understanding the big picture, you want to spend less time going slow, so you want to work harder in those situations. The smaller you are as a paddler, the more important that is, and the larger paddler you are, the less these conditions are going to influence you, so managing your energy will reflect that. Feathering with the canoe or a kayak blade is very effective, and then with the wing blade, not as effective as orienting your blade for maximal forward strokes. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. We will try to upload weekly again. We got a little off schedule with some big races at the end of the year here in Florida, and I hope during the winter season to produce more videos on a frequent basis. If you are interested in coming to Florida and to Hernando, I plan on doing some downwind one-on-ones. So if you want to come into town, paddle a tandem boat with me across the Tampa Bay, please reach out anytime. If you're interested in lessons, I'm always available. You can send an email, even on short notice. I can try to make something work. I have boats available if you would like to use them. Don't forget to check out the K2NOnlinePaddleSchool.com. If you ever have any questions or future video suggestions, as a great way to reach me, my email is found in the description here or on the website. Thank you all so much again, and we'll see you next week for the next paddle tip.